Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Sophie Erber. New details have emerged this afternoon about that deadly shooting in Luton, Iowa yesterday that killed one man and sent a woman to the hospital. Those new details now in our top story at 5. 20-year-old Marvin Hildreth Jr. of Whiting, Iowa is being charged with second-degree murder and going armed with intent. Now, KCAU 9 has also learned that at the time of the shooting, Hildreth was out on bond awaiting trial in connection to a separate shooting in Monona County last year. The Sheriff's Department has also identified the man who was killed as 40-year-old Russell Moore. They have not released the name of the female victim who was taken to the hospital, but today authorities said her injuries were non-life threatening. According to the sheriff's office, Hildreth went to the Luton residence yesterday and got into an argument with that male victim before firing several shots. He then fled the scene and was pulled over a short time later. Court documents say that Hildreth may have received a phone call requesting that he come to that home prior to the shooting. However, today Sheriff Chad Sheehan said that many details still remain unclear.
At this point, it's so early in the investigation, we have not been able to determine a motive, and that's, one of the things that we will try to work towards.
Again, Sheriff Sheehan says that he is fairly certain the three involved knew each other through social circles, but the department is still piecing together full details. Now, the sheriff's office has set up a special tip line for this case. They're asking for the public's help with some information. That number is on your screen, 712-224-3333. Again, 224-3333. Iowa voters might no longer be the first to weigh in the nation on the 2024 presidential election. This after Nevada lawmakers passed a bill that would make their state the first to hold a primary. Now, currently, the bill is awaiting the Nevada governor's signature. That's Steve Sisolak. Iowa Republican Senator Jason Schulz is concerned Iowa might no longer hold their caucus first, and that this could also lead to fewer presidential candidate visits to Siouxland. Coming up tonight at 10, KCAU 9's Jason Toktagian tells us how this would impact Iowa's status as being first in the nation to vote, and also you'll hear more from lawmakers. Again, that's coming up tonight at 10. It's a 6th day of searching for 11-year-old Xavier Harrelson of Montezuma, but there is still no sign of him. Community members held a vigil for him last night. He was seen riding his bicycle last on the north side of town last Thursday. Xavier was wearing blue pajama bottoms, a red T-shirt, and black tennis shoes. Anyone with information or clues as to where he might be should immediately contact the Poweshiek County Sheriff's Department. The world's largest meat supplier was hit with a cybersecurity attack. JBS, which processes beef, pork, and other prepared foods across the country, suspended all affected systems and notified authorities. The company says resolution of the incident will take time and might delay certain transactions with consumers and suppliers. Last month, Colonial Pipeline was hit with a cyber attack. That caused panic buying, triggering a fuel shortage in parts of the country. Today, President Joe Biden delivered a speech in Tulsa, Oklahoma. That was, of course, to commemorate the 100-year anniversary of the Tulsa massacre. That officially was yesterday. President Biden is the first president to visit that site where a white mob murdered hundreds of black Americans. The visit has renewed some calls now for Congress to tackle reparations for all black Americans whose families endured similar violence.
Tuesday, President Joe Biden touched down in Oklahoma to spotlight the 100-year anniversary of the Tulsa Race Massacre.
This was once home to Black Wall Street.
In 1921, a white mob murdered hundreds of black Americans and destroyed millions of dollars of property.
Not just our property, but our legacy.
2 weeks ago, survivors and their descendants called on Congress to acknowledge the attack and provide reparations.
We are looking for justice, because for centuries, injustice has cost our families an unspeakable price.
The White House says President Biden supports legislation to study broader reparations for black Americans, but hasn't endorsed specific payments for Tulsa massacre victims. Instead, Tuesday, the president announced new efforts to close the wealth gap by promoting black home ownership and small businesses nationwide.
He's handling this, I think, appropriately.
Democratic Congressman Emanuel Cleaver welcomes studying reparations, but many Republicans remain opposed.
I can't imagine a more divisive, polarizing, or unjust measure.
At a February hearing, Republican Congressman Tom McClintock called them unfair.
Would by government force require people who never owned slaves to pay reparations to those who never were slaves?
And that's just not what it is.
Instead of simple payments, Cleaver says the study could find different ways to bring justice to Black Americans. He hopes Tuesday's visit moves the issue forward. In Washington, Raquel Martin.
Time now to turn our attention to the weather. Another headline tonight, and meteorologist Scott Larson is standing by. Scott, you could tell by the colors on the screen there behind you, a warm day here in Siouxland, and our march toward even warmer temperatures really begins today.
Yes, the first day of June. It marks the beginning of meteorological summer today, Sophie. And yeah, it definitely felt like it out there. We had high temperatures jumping up into the 70s and 80s throughout the region. 81 this afternoon in Sioux City, as well as Yankton and Wayne. 79 today in Storm Lake, 74 in Spencer. We should cool off comfortably tonight, as it looks like lows will range from the upper 40s to the middle 50s. Expecting to see the temperature slide down to 50 degrees in Sioux City. It is going to become hotter here as we get into the weekend, especially with highs expected to make a jump into the 90s. We'll detail if there's any rain chances along the way in the full 9 on 9 forecast. Sophie?
Thanks, Scott. Moderna has announced that it has officially filed for a full approval from the FDA for its COVID-19 vaccine. That vaccine is currently only authorized for emergency use in the United States. Full approval would signal the FDA's full confidence in the vaccine and would be granted based on more data. Moderna has an agreement with the government to supply 300 million doses of its COVID-19 vaccine. And those still holding out on getting one, you now have even more reason to get the vaccine. Starting tomorrow at all Hy-Vee stores and Hy-Vee pop-up clinic sites, anyone completing their 2-dose vaccination will receive a $10 Hy-Vee gift card. Appointments are available on a walk-in basis. You can also schedule the appointment at hyvee.com/COVID vaccine. As we start to head outdoors for the summer months, health officials remind us to take precautions against the West Nile virus, carried, of course, by mosquitoes. The first case of 2021 was reported last Thursday. IDPH says the infected person was an older adult between the ages of 61 and 80, and they were from Montgomery County, Iowa. Last year, 3 Iowans were diagnosed with West Nile virus. There were no deaths attributed to it. A Des Moines nonprofit organization is hoping to turn an old motel into affordable housing for the homeless. The group wants to use it, the Old Days Inn Motel on Merle Hay Road in Des Moines. Not only would it have housing units, but the complex would also offer some mental health services, drug treatment programs, and even job training. The tenants would pay rent, but no more than 30% of their income.
Being able to serve people and offer that behavioral health component, so both mental health and substance use disorder treatment in one location, will be really essential for supporting the folks that we're serving. Being able to have job training right there on the premises is going to be really a great aspect of this, being in one location.
The group is currently working with the city to buy that old motel. The entire project is estimated to cost about $4 million. They do hope to break ground in 2022. Food Truck Fridays will be returning for its 6th season at the Pearl Street Park beginning this week. The season will start off on Friday, of course, and it'll go until August 27th with 8 trucks participating. Now, more may join in as the season goes on, and each truck will be spaced out further apart to give lines more room to social distance. But patrons are welcome to stay in the park if they so choose.
So we just ask that you respect others' individual space, but we're feeling great about it being summer, about being outdoors, and just really looking forward to getting back to that sense of community.
Now, they will still be limiting their activities and other attractions, but as the year goes on, they say they might add more. Today marks the official start of the hurricane season in the Atlantic, and experts are already predicting an above-average season. What lawmakers say about federal agencies being ready for the storms coming up.
And a warm and sunny pattern is expected to settle into Siouxland here, with highs getting a lift into the 90s this weekend. We'll talk about when we start to cool things back off next week, coming up in the complete 9 on 9 forecast.
You're watching KCAU 9 News with Sophie Erber and Chief Meteorologist Scott Larson. This is KCAU 9 News at 5.
Thanks for sticking with us. Really a beautiful day to be outside, much like yesterday. And Scott, the good news continues for our warm weather lovers out there, because it's only going to get warmer.
Yeah, we had some ups and downs through the month of May, Sophie, but looks like it's basically just all ups here in June, at least for the first part of the month, as temperatures will continue to work their way toward 90 degrees this weekend. We're getting a live look outside now from the Ho Chunk Center camera set up in downtown Sioux City. Some abundant sunshine, just a couple of clouds hanging above. Temperatures now are in the 70s and 80s throughout the area. It is 75 degrees in North Platte, 79 in Valentine, 77 for Des Moines and Mason City, and now 80 degrees in Sioux City. Looking in closer to home, 77 in Cherokee as well as Storm Lake. It's 79 outside in Carroll and Denison. Temperature reported at 78 degrees in Norfolk and 81 or 2 Monday and Tuesday. You can see that we will have our temperatures dip into the mid-80s there. 89 expected for next Wednesday, and bright sunshine, a high temperature of 90 degrees for next Thursday. So the air conditioner is going to be getting to work out here before too long. Well, here's a shot from one of my favorite communities in Siouxland, from Ida Grove. Those beautiful castles. I love that architecture there. And Vermes in Ida Grove. Snap that picture and send it along at sunset. If you have a picture of your own that you want to share with us, go to SiouxlandProud.com, find the weather tab, and go on down to send us your photos. We'd love to share them with everybody.
Yeah, that first time I drove through Ida Grove, you actually were the one who described it to me as being so neat and unique, and you were right, it really is.
It really is, that architecture, and it's all over town, too. I just love driving through there.
Yeah, if you haven't been, check it out. Thanks, Scott.
It's worthwhile.
Well, almost 10 years ago, a massive flood devastated Siouxland, flooding homes, fields, and businesses. Tonight, KCAU 9 News looks back at that historic event, along with some of the lessons learned and changes made. The flood of 2011, a decade of change, is a half-hour news special. Again, it airs tonight at 6:30 p.m., so right after your 6 o'clock news here on KCAU. More controversy today after a professional tennis player withdrew from the French Open, while the superstar young athlete announced she's stepping away from the court for a while. Coming up, but first, experts are predicting an above-average hurricane season, while lawmakers are issuing a warning, too, right after the break.
10 years ago, the Missouri River brought severe flooding to Siouxland.
And on June 1st, KCAU 9 looks back at the changes that it led to.
The flood of 2011, a decade of change. June 1st at 6:30 on KCAU 9. This is KCAU 9 News.
Today marks the beginning of the 2021 Atlantic hurricane season, and experts are already predicting an above-average season. Our Washington correspondent Kelly Meyer has what you can expect and what lawmakers on Capitol Hill have to say about federal agencies being ready.
June 1st marks the start of what's expected to be a busy 2021 hurricane season.
So the outlook does call for an above-normal season.
Matthew Rosencrans, a leading hurricane expert at NOAA, says there could be as many as 20 named storms this season. That includes 6 to 10 hurricanes and potentially 3 to 5 major hurricanes, Category 3 or higher. But the good news...
So we are not expecting it to be as active as 2020.
Here at FEMA headquarters in Washington, I'm told they have over 21,000 employees on hand. They've already had a busy year responding to both the pandemic and migrant surge.
I know they're stretched. I know they're stretched because of what's going on in the southern border.
Florida Republican Senator Rick Scott says he wrote a letter to FEMA asking if the agency is ready. He says it hasn't responded yet.
So I'm going to do everything I can to continue to get them ready.
We're going to be on that 1 yard line, making sure that they're ready to answer the bell in the case of need for the people in Louisiana.
Louisiana Democratic Congressman Troy Carter says he wants to make sure FEMA has the support it needs to help communities in the storm's path.
Particularly a place like Louisiana that has suffered a great deal with flooding and hurricanes.
Hurricane season extends through November, but peak season runs from August to October. Rosencrans says that means people have some time to prepare.
Being that we're not seeing activity now, it's take the time to prepare now.
Reporting in Washington, I'm Kelly Meyer.
Well, after controversy unfolded at the French Open, the superstar athlete who's dropped out of that competition is speaking out. Why it's about her mental health. Next. More controversy today after professional tennis player Naomi Osaka's decision to withdraw from the French Open. That tennis superstar announcing she's taking some time away from the court, and she's opening up about her mental health struggles. ABC's Rena Roy has the latest.
The number 2 ranked tennis player in the world was set to hit the clay court for her second-round French Open match Wednesday. Instead, she'll be a no-show after suddenly dropping out. 23-year-old superstar Naomi Osaka tweeting, "I think now the best thing for the tournament, the other players, and my well-being is that I withdraw. I never wanted to be a distraction." The decision just a day after Osaka was fined $15,000 for refusing to attend a post-match press conference, instead agreeing to this brief courtside interview.
I'm really glad that I won, and it's a very beautiful court.
We are sorry and sad for Naomi Osaka. We remain very committed to all athletes' well-being.
Osaka says she's battled long bouts of depression and anxiety since springing into stardom in 2018 when she beat Serena Williams at the U.S. Open, standing emotional under a towel as Williams fans booed her win. Williams speaking out Monday, supporting Osaka.
I feel for Naomi because I know what it's like. You just have to let her handle it the way she wants to.
Osaka has spoken about her mental health struggles in the past, opening up about her depression after losing a 2018 match in Charleston.
Like yesterday, I just woke up and I was really depressed, but I don't know why. Like, I'm so sad right now.
The press is very instrumental in the growth of the game. At the same time, I think it's time to take a closer look at the structure of these press conferences.
In her statement, Osaka says she privately wrote to tournament organizers to apologize, adding she'd like to work with them in the future to make things better for the players, press, and fans. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
Take a live look outside right now in Wayne, America. Scott returns with one more check on your forecast. Stay with us. Before we wrap up at 5, let's check in now with Tim for what's coming up at 6. Hi, Tim.
Hey, good afternoon, Sophie. Good to be back with you. As you reported earlier this afternoon, a suspect in that fatal shooting in Luton, Iowa, has now been arrested and is behind bars. We'll have the new details on that case coming up tonight at 6. Also ahead in just a half an hour, Nevada lawmakers have passed a bill aiming to replace Iowa as first in the nation when it comes to caucus season, and that would include the 2024 presidential primaries. How Iowa political leaders are reacting and what the change could mean for folks here in the state of Iowa. And it will soon be that time of year again. Cicadas will be out serenading folks. Now an artist has found a new way of sharing the beauty of those insects, if you can believe that. We'll share his story coming up right after World News Tonight. If you hear the cicadas, it seems like definitely in the dog days of summer, those hot, sticky kind of days.
I agree with you.
In the distance, yeah.
Yeah, I associate that with feeling kind of humid and maybe even being out at a camp. So Tim's not wrong about that. And that kind of weather slowly moving in as the week goes on, but tonight a pleasant evening.
Yeah, it should be pleasant outside tonight, Sophie. Expecting to see clear skies. The temperature should be falling to about 50 degrees in Sioux City. And tomorrow we're expecting to see a high of 82 in the afternoon with a lot more sunshine coming our way. And it will be just a little bit warmer than today. 86 on Thursday, 89 Friday. We're into the 90s on both Saturday and Sunday with a healthy breeze both days. Some more cloud cover early next week as it looks like temperatures should be descending into the 80s for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday with some very small chances for storms.
Nobody minds a breeze when it's 90.
Exactly.
Thanks, Scott. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you here again at 6 with Tim Seaman. Until then, have a great night, everyone.